tweede referendum. En wat zij nou hopen is dat als die deal vanavond weggestemd wordt, dat die kans op dat tweede referendum vele malen groter wordt. Verkiezingen misschien wel, maar zij willen vooral dat het volk nog een keer de kans krijgt om te stemmen. Omdat zij vinden dat de mensen niet goed geïnformeerd waren, dat heel veel jongeren niet gestemd hebben. En zij denken dat als iedereen nu weet wat de gevolgen zijn voor de Brexit, dat men wel opnieuw gaat nadenken en ook wel makkelijker tegen die Brexit gaat stemmen. Op dit moment kijken wij met z'n allen naar het scherm waar het parlement bijeen is. 650 parlementsleden. Ze gaan eerst nog een amendement aannemen, of niet. En als dat gebeurd is, dan kan die stemming heel erg snel plaatsvinden. Het was net heel strijdlustig hier, mensen die echt opriepen om alsjeblieft een tweede referendum te houden. Nu is het behoorlijk rustig en stil. Je voelt de spanning om je heen. Er staan ook wat mensen naast mij. Ik ga eens even vragen hoe het gaat. What are you expecting?
We're hoping that we're going to get a people's vote and have the chance to retake the decision of Brexit.
But you know this deal won't get through Parliament.
We're pretty sure it won't. Sure
But even then you want to be here.
Yeah, because we still need to support a people's vote. Even if it doesn't get through Parliament, we might not necessarily get that. So,
and it's a historic day.
Exactly. Definitely. It's got to be here.
What does Brexit mean for you both personally?
Well, as a scientist, for me it means cutting funding for science research in this country, and that's just my future taken away from me, so that's why I really am here for a people's vote, to change the decision.
Because the funding is European funding?
The funding is European funding, yeah.
And you?
Well, for me it's a number of things. I mean, anyway, this country is built on the EU and having people come in and work and having the chance to work abroad as well. I used to live in Italy and I hope to live there again and work abroad, and I think it's about community and being part of something that's bigger than just the UK.
What's happening?
Yeah. Speakers just come on.
De speaker gaat nu spreken. Wat zij allebei vertelden is dat voor hun de Brexit echt slecht uitpakt. De een is wetenschapper en die maakt heel veel gebruik van Europese subsidies voor haar onderzoek. De ander heeft ook in Italië gewerkt of gestudeerd. In ieder geval, ze zijn internationaal, jonge mensen. En dat zie je veel hier. Dat in Londen de meerderheid echt voor blijven bij de EU is. En buiten Londen is dat veel minder, omdat Londen nou eenmaal veel internationaler is. Dus je zult hier ook echt veel meer pro-Europa mensen aantreffen dan buiten Londen. Toch zijn ze er wel hoor. Ze staan verderop. Ze staan verderop in kleine groepen met elkaar ook te demonstreren. En er is heel veel politie op de been, die houden ook de demonstranten tegen. Net proberen ze hier bij deze demonstranten te komen. Nou, er was echt, ik denk wel 30 politieagenten die daartussen stonden. En die hebben ze weer voorzichtig naar de andere kant gebracht. Want ze discussiëren echt regelmatig met elkaar en dan zie je dat ze... Ja, dat het geluid omhoog gaat en dat ze behoorlijk pittig tegen elkaar kunnen zijn. Ze gaan nu dus duidelijk weg om te stemmen. Het kan behoorlijk snel gaan, heb ik begrepen nu. Laten we heel even kijken.
By showing up, by making your voice heard, do you exert the pressure on our parliamentarians to do the right thing? So give yourselves a big round of applause!
Sorry sir, may I ask you something for Facebook Live, Dutch TV?
Thank you, I'm alright, thank you so much.
Why are you here?
What were you going to ask me?
How historic is this?
Well, let's see if we can stop it, then I'd say it was historic.
This is an important
But they're going to vote against.
in the journey of Brexit, and we're going to be keeping you up to date.
But that doesn't mean it's stopped. That just means that they have to have a plan B in 3 days.
What's happening?
Yeah, they haven't got a plan B. I think it's about time to stop.
So will you stay with us, people?
Het valt op, niet iedereen wil voor de Nederlandse televisie wat zeggen. Dat is me al eerder opgevallen vandaag. Maar hij zegt ook, het is gewoon een heel historische dag, je moet erbij zijn. En het is nog niet gedaan als het deal weggestemd wordt, want dan gaat het erom, wat wordt er daarna gedaan? Wordt hij opnieuw behandeld? Wordt hij opnieuw in stemming gebracht? Of komt er toch dat tweede referendum?
We're going to crack on with some more absolutely brilliant speakers. And please give a warm welcome to a very, very good friend of mine. He's a true Labour man. He's standing as the candidate in Edinburgh.
Laten we een beetje doorlopen dan.
Near Glasgow in Scotland. He's been a doughty campaigner in this movement. Please give a warm welcome. Start clapping, start cheering.
May I ask you something? For Dutch TV, Facebook?
Yeah.
How do you see this all? You're here to sense the urgency.
Yeah, I can't see it going any other way apart from no deal tonight, and then hopefully another referendum. That's the dream.
What would Brexit mean for you personally?
I think on a local level, it's an absolute embarrassment. It's a misrepresentation of this country. People say the country voted. No, they didn't. Half the country voted. There's still a lot of disappointed people out there. So I think it's better to be around the table and try and reform the EU. It does need reforming, but we can only do that from being around the table.
And personally?
I've got a lot of friends from the EU. And it was heartbreaking the day of the result. I remember it 2 or 3 years ago. So it would mean a lot if we can stay in and build our bridges that way. Yeah.
And they want to stay in Britain?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's not secure. It's not sure what will happen then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly clear on much of it. I don't follow much of it because it changes on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I think we need to stay in.
The vote, what do you expect? A huge defeat for May, or?
I think so. Yeah, it needs to be. I think our time's come.
Thank you. Ja, ook deze man zegt dat hij echt hoopt dat er een tweede referendum komt. Het is heel onzeker en dat is eigenlijk wat iedereen zegt. Het is absoluut het moment nu, maar eigenlijk weten we niet heel goed wat er daarna gebeurt. Dus die onzekerheid is gewoon heel erg groot. Maar een Brexit, dat is echt wat ze niet willen. En de hoop dat dat nu niet doorgaat, is toch onder deze mensen hier heel groot. Daarbuiten echt niet hoor. Heel veel mensen verwachten toch echt wel dat die Brexit er komt. Ook misschien wel een harde Brexit zonder enig akkoord met de EU. Met alle gevolgen van dien. En ik heb genoeg mensen gesproken die ook dat helemaal prima vinden. Dan gaan we gewoon handel drijven met alle grote landen in de wereld. Want Groot-Brittannië is nou eenmaal de 5e economie van de wereld. Dat is wat ze steeds tegen elkaar zeggen. We zijn een eiland, we zijn een eilandvolk. Die ook over ons eigen wetten willen kunnen praten en stemmen. En geen opdrachten uit Brussel willen krijgen. Dat is een beetje de sfeer die je veel hoort, ook buiten deze vierkante paar 100 meters hoor. Er wordt nog steeds niet gestemd, of er wordt op dit moment... Laten we even kijken wat er gebeurt. I'm particularly proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with 3 great trade unions, Community, TSSA and the GMB, who can see Brexit for exactly what it is, an attack on solidarity. Can I ask you something? We're live on Facebook in Holland, Dutch TV.
Okay.
Why are you here?
I'm here basically because everything's been taken away from Britain. My passport, I'm English, and I deal with sort of like a lot of things right across Europe. I'm representing my company in Norway. That's going to be taken away from me. I'm going to have to take a visa out, and the manufacturing base is just going to collapse in the UK.
Do you study? Do you work?
I work. I work at a big multi-international designing stairlifts, including the Dutch market, the Belgian market, the European, all the way across from Brazil to the USA to Canada to China, and this is massively impacting our company.
And what do you feel? Are they already thinking about leaving Britain, because lots of companies do?
we will still have a manufacturing base, but it will significantly decrease, and we will significantly increase our sort of like levels within Europe, you know, because that's what you need to do.
What does that mean for you?
That basically means that our economy is going to shrink, which isn't good. But
your job?
My job will probably be okay for the department that I work in, but it'll make things more difficult for the people that do the actual manufacturing side of things, because I work in the design. But having said that, it's difficult, you know, because obviously you need an office in the EU, which will make things harder is if we change our regulations, because we'll have to design for the EU and then the UK market instead of it just one market. It makes things a lot harder.
Did you speak to the Brexiteers outside?
I haven't spoken to the Brexiteers outside, but you just need to look at what's actually happening. There's not much that's good. If there was actually a positive aspect of Brexit, you know, if there was like a populist thing that was across Europe, then absolutely 100% come out of Europe. But you've got to look at the liberal aspect of Europe, you know, the caring aspect of what it is. Also look at the standards of food.
It's all insecure now.
It's something that's all up in the air. You know, it's also job rights brought in by the EU. Look at, you know, the liberation, you know, the environment. Every single aspect, you know, especially with this government.
A lot at stake.
It's a lot at stake, and
let's see what's happening then, huh? Yeah.
I think it's going to be a no vote tonight, but there's certainly fundamental money in the Conservative Party from Brexiteers, which with the DUP, you know, you look at it.
What's happening now? Let's see. Let's see. Thank you very much. Wat hij vertelde was echt wel heel interessant. Hij werkt voor een groot internationaal bedrijf, designbedrijf. Maar hij is echt bang dat het bedrijf voor een deel naar andere Europese landen moet verhuizen. Omdat ze nou eenmaal internationaal zaken doen en omdat de markt hier minder zal worden bij een Brexit. Er zijn grote gevolgen voor jonge mensen die internationaal bij internationale bedrijven werken. En hij ziet eigenlijk helemaal geen voordelen van een Brexit. En ja, je spreekt natuurlijk heel veel mensen die wel voordelen zien van een Brexit. Dat er meer eigen waar gekocht wordt. Dus ja, de meningen zijn behoorlijk verdeeld. Maar we zijn hier natuurlijk bij de pro-Europa mensen. En dat is wat je hoort. Ik denk dat het goed is om nu te kijken wat er gaat gebeuren.
Thanks to the EU, trans people have legal status in this country. Thanks to the
Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 202. The noes to the left, 432.
The ayes to the right, 202. The noes, order! The ayes to the right, 202. The noes to the left, 432. So the noes have it. The noes have it. Unlock. On a point of order. The Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the House has spoken and the government will listen. It is clear that the House does not support this deal, but tonight's vote tells us nothing about what it does support. Nothing about how or even if it intends to honour the decision the British people took in a referendum Parliament decided to hold. And people, particularly EU citizens who've made their home here, and UK citizens living in the EU, deserve clarity on these questions as soon as possible.
Order! Order! There's no good people shouting. There will be an opportunity for other points of order, but the Prime Minister must and will be heard. The Prime Minister.
Those whose jobs rely on our trade with the EU need that clarity. So, with your permission, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to set out briefly how the government intends to proceed. First, we need to confirm whether this government still enjoys the confidence of the House. I believe that it does, but given the scale and importance of tonight's vote, it's right that others have the chance to test that question if they wish to do so. I can therefore confirm that if the official opposition table a confidence motion this evening, in the form required by the Fixed Term Parliaments Act, the government will make time to debate that motion tomorrow. And if, as happened before Christmas, the official opposition declined to do so, we will, on this occasion, consider making time tomorrow to debate any motion in the form required from the other opposition parties, should they put one forward. Second, if the House confirms its confidence in this government, I will then hold meetings with my colleagues, our confidence and supply partner, the DUP, and senior parliamentarians from across the House to identify what would be required to secure the backing of the House. The government will approach these meetings in a constructive spirit, but given the urgent need to make progress, we must focus on ideas that are genuinely negotiable and have sufficient support in this House. Third, if these meetings yield such ideas, the government will then explore them with the European Union. Mr. Speaker, I want to end by offering two reassurances. The first is to those who fear that the government's strategy is to run down the clock to the 29th of March. That is not our strategy. I've always believed that the best way forward is to leave in an orderly way with a good deal, and have devoted much of the last 2 years negotiating such a deal. As you confirmed, Mr. Speaker, the amendment to the business motion tabled last week by my right honourable and learned friend, the member for Beaconsfield, is not legally binding, but the government respects the will of the House. We will therefore make a statement about the way forward and table an amendable motion by Monday. The second reassurance is to the British people who voted to leave the European Union in the referendum 2.5 years ago. I became Prime Minister immediately after that referendum. I believe it's my duty to deliver on their instruction, and I intend to do so. Every day that passes without this issue being resolved means more uncertainty, more bitterness and more rancour. The government has heard what the House has said tonight, but I ask members on all sides of the House to listen to the British people who want this issue settled, and to work with the government to do just that.
I will come to other colleagues, but first of all, point of order, the Leader of the Opposition, Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The result of tonight's vote is the greatest defeat for a government since the 1920s in this House. This is a catastrophic defeat for this government. After 2 years of failed negotiations, the House of Commons has delivered its verdict on her Brexit deal, and that verdict is absolutely decisive. I hear the words of the Prime Minister, but actions of her government of the past 2 years speak equally clearly. She is only attempting to reach out now to try to keep her failed process and deal alive after it's been so roundly rejected by Parliament on behalf of the people of this country. Labour has laid out our priorities consistently. No deal must be taken off the table. A permanent customs union must be secured and people's rights and protections must be guaranteed so they do not fall behind. At every turn, the Prime Minister has closed the door on dialogue. Businesses begged her to negotiate a comprehensive customs union. Trade union leaders pressed her for the same thing. They were ignored. In the last 2 years, she's only had one priority: the Conservative Party. Her governing principle of delay and denial has reached the end of the line. She cannot seriously believe that after 2 years of failure, she is capable of negotiating a good deal for the people of this country. The most important issue facing us is that the government has lost the confidence of this House and this country. I therefore, Mr. Speaker, inform you I have now tabled a motion of no confidence in this government. And I'm pleased that motion will be debated tomorrow, so this House can give its verdict on the sheer incompetence of this government and pass that motion of no confidence in the government.
First of all, just come to the leader. I will come to the right honourable gentleman, of course, but a point of order, the Leader of the House.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I should like to make a short business statement regarding the business for tomorrow and the remainder of this week.
I'm extraordinarily grateful to the right honourable lady, and I accept that she can't be psychic as to what I'm thinking and I can't be psychic as to what she's thinking. I think the orderly way to proceed with this matter is to deal with points of order first and then to come to the right honourable lady's statement, which would be entirely proper and doubtless helpful to the House. Point of order, Mr. Ian Blackford.
Mr. Speaker, we should be aware of the situation that we're in. The clock is ticking. We have got very little time to resolve this. The fact that it has taken us so long to get to this point, frankly, is shameful. This is a humiliating defeat for the government. When I listen to the Prime Minister, it sounds like everybody else is at fault rather than her. She has to accept responsibility for what has happened this evening. Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted that the Leader of the Opposition has come round to a motion of no confidence. This should have happened before, but of course we will support it. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, it is clear the clock is ticking. The government needs to secure the safety of all our nations and should immediately postpone the Article 50 process and should immediately have talks with all the leaders of the opposition parties. Let's work together in all our interests, but let's listen to the voices of the parliamentarians that have been sent here. There is no support for this deal. It mustn't come back again. The obvious thing to do, the right thing to do, suspend Article 50, put this to the people and a people's vote.
I know the right honourable gentleman won't take offence when I say he was using the device of a point of order, as is entirely understandable in these circumstances, to say what he wanted to say, but he was more interested in what he had to say to the House than in anything that I might have to say to him. It's not a matter for the Chair. The right honourable gentleman has registered his view, and these are the sorts of issues that can quite properly be aired in debate and quite conceivably in discussions that take place with the Prime Minister and other party leaders. But he's made his point with force and alacrity, and it's on the record for colleagues to study. I will take the honourable lady first, right honourable lady first, and then others. Point of order, Jo Swinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With this result of a scale that is unprecedented in recent times, it is clear that this deal, nor any tweaks to it, will get through the House of Commons. So can I ask for your guidance, Mr. Speaker, on how Parliament can assert its authority to make sure that we can give the people of this country a say on this deal to resolve this matter? It is a mess that needs to be resolved by the people in a people's vote.
Well, my response to the honourable lady is as follows. First of all, there may well be an opportunity for her to air her own thoughts on that matter the situation we face and the suggested way forward in the course of debate to which the Prime Minister in her point of order referred, there is that prospect potentially unfolding. So that's one opportunity for the Honourable Lady. And the second would be those discussions to take place in coming days. And I dare say that the Honourable Lady will want to take the chance to participate in those. More widely, where there is discussion about Parliament's role and what Parliament might do and what options Parliament might have, I think I can predict with complete confidence that the Honourable Lady will have a view about that, and that view, which is important, will be heard. And point of order, Mr. Angus Brendan McNeill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister spoke about the will of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and I think we have to investigate that further. When can we test the will of this House on the choices that are now left? The choices are no deal versus revoking Article 50. Can we test these in the House? And bearing in mind, of course, that in Scotland the European Union is more popular in the polls than the United Kingdom, and the Prime Minister should know that.
There'll be plenty of opportunity for testing in the days ahead. I think well, can I just take the Honourable Lady first? Point of order, Dr. Philippa Whitford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This isn't a political point of order. Yesterday it was raised the issue of the member for Hampstead and Kilburn and the fact that she should have been undergoing a caesarean section today for a high-risk pregnancy, and she is comfortable with me saying she has gestational diabetes and was asked by her medical team to undergo that at an early possibility. She has had to defer that despite the advice and comments that you made from the chair yesterday that apparently were given no comfort from the government benches, and I think this is shocking. And I have to say that as a doctor, to put our colleague at risk and her baby at risk because we cannot have a method of allowing those who are sick or pregnant is disgraceful.
Well, I note what the Honourable Lady says, and I don't cavil at it at all. I made the point yesterday. I thought the situation was lamentable. I used that word, I think, several times. The situation was lamentable. This matter, I'm not interested in people chuntering from a sedentary position to no obvious benefit or purpose. I'm ruling on the matter and I require no assistance in the process of doing so. The situation was lamentable. I thought it better that the Honourable Lady should have the opportunity of a proxy vote. That was my view, and it was a view widely shared. The matter was debated in February of last year and in September. I had indicated my strong support. It would have been necessary for a resolution to be tabled by the Leader of the House for reasons which others can explain. It's not my job to do their explaining for them. That has not happened. I think it's regrettable, but it cannot be sorted tonight. Nevertheless, she's registered her concern. It's a concern and a sense, frankly, of very deep disappointment, to put it mildly, that I share, and it will doubtless be dealt with in days or weeks to come. And my very great sympathies go to the Honourable Lady, the member for Hampstead and Kilburn, who, in my judgment, should not have been put in this position. Point of order, Yvette Cooper.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has now said that she will listen to voices from right across this House. She has obviously had 30 months in which to do that, and it has led to this defeat for the government tonight, which is the greatest for more than 100 years. We must all hope that she will indeed listen to voices from across the House, but we also all recognise that it will take time, and people and businesses and government organisations and institutions will now be worried that there are only just over 70 days left. The Prime Minister did not mention Article 50.
Order. People talk about respect in this House, but there's a Minister of the Crown shouting at the Right Honourable Member for Normanton. I say in the kindest way, he's normally a very genial fellow. Stop it. You're capable of much better than that. Yvette Cooper.
Given the scale of the challenge, with the clock now really ticking down, the Prime Minister did not mention what will happen to Article 50. Mr Speaker, can you advise the House on what we might be able to do to urge the Prime Minister, for the sake of businesses and jobs and people across the country, to seek an immediate extension of Article 50 now, so that this can be sorted out?
Well, the answer is, in the first instance, these are matters that can be aired in debate tomorrow. I don't think it's right for me tonight to give a ruling on what the Right Honourable Lady or others should or shouldn't do. She will be aware of the presentation of bill that took place in the name of another member who I believe also has views on these matters. These will be, I'm sure, discussed in the days ahead, not merely in private meetings, but I feel certain on the floor of the House. And of one thing I am sure, that which members wish to debate and which they determine shall be subject to a vote will be debated and voted upon. That seems to me so blindingly obvious that no sensible person would disagree with the proposition. If MPs want to debate a matter and to vote on it, that opportunity will, I'm sure, unfold in the period ahead. I think if there are no further points of order, and I don't think we need any, it is right that we hear the supplementary business statement by the Leader of the House.
I'm extraordinarily grateful, Mr Speaker. With permission,
be honest. I don't really mind whether she's grateful or not, but she's got the chance. The Leader of the House.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr Speaker. With permission, I should like to make a short business statement regarding the business for tomorrow and the remainder of this week. Wednesday, the 16th of January, the House will be asked to consider a motion of no confidence in Her Majesty's Government under Section 2(4) of the Fixed Term Parliaments Act of 2011 in the name of the Leader of the Opposition. Thursday, the 17th of January, debate on a motion on mental health first aid in the workplace, followed by general debate on children's social care in England. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. I shall make a further business statement in the usual way on Thursday. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Thank you. The Shadow Leader of the House, I remind the House that the supplementary business statement is subject to questioning, but its terms are comparatively narrow, and I implore members to recognise the implication and spirit of that fact. The Shadow Leader, Valerie Vaz.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Leader of the House for the statement and say that the opposition concur with it in the circumstances of the vote. We agree with the debate tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes, Mr Pete Wishart.
Could just wonder, Mr Speaker, whether you could find any way to confirm that the whole day's business tomorrow will be given to the vote of no confidence. According to the legislation that's set out in the Fixed Term Parliament Act, there's only a requirement for an hour and a half. I'm looking to the Leader of the House just to confirm that the whole day will be available. The Chief Whip is shaking his head, so I am sufficiently persuaded that that's going to be the case. So he's nodding his head, rather, so I'm satisfied that that is the case, and the Leader of the House is just about to confirm that.
Yes, subject to the agreement of the House.
It would be useful to know the timings. I mean, ordinarily, the Chair is approached about these matters, which is the sensible way to deal with it, but we do need to know what the timing is, and I hope the Right Honourable Lady will either be able to advise now or to confer with colleagues later in the evening, so that there is clarity on that matter. And then we'll be all very satisfied. The Leader.
Mr Speaker, I can confirm that your office has the proposal for a business motion tomorrow that proposes that the debate takes place for the whole day until 7 p.m.
Grateful, thank you. Point of order, thank you very much indeed. Supplementary business motion, Wes Streeting.
Mr Speaker, I wasn't sure if we were taking questions on the business statement or points of order, but given the scale of the defeat, the government must surely have seen the inevitable coming. The issues for debate on Thursday are important, but every day wasted is another day closer to exit, particularly without a deal. Are we really debating two motions with no consequence on Thursday, rather than deciding how we're going to move forward on a crucial issue facing our country?
Well, the leader can add to what she said by way of the supplementary business statement if she likes. That seemed to me, if the honourable gentleman would forgive me saying so, a kind of curious hybrid between an attempted point of order on the one hand and a question on the supplementary business motion on the other. And I'm not sure if he had to plump for one or the other, which it would be. But what I would say to the honourable gentleman is that these matters can be aired in debate tomorrow, in the business question on Thursday, and in subsequent days. So I completely understand that the honourable gentleman is seized of the importance of early progress, but that opportunity will unfold in days to come, and I think I can predict with confidence that he'll be in his place, ready to leap to his feet to share his point of view with the House. Yes, is it really going to be necessary? Simon Orr.
Mr. Speaker, could you confirm that the timetable set out by my right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, perfectly accords with the amended programme motion which the House voted upon last week, which I would guess that the honourable gentleman voted in favour of, which the Prime Minister would have 3 sitting days.
It wouldn't have been agreed if that weren't the case. I don't wish to be unkind to the honourable gentleman, but he's frankly not adding anything by that point of order, although I'm sure he perfectly well intended to do so, but no additional public service has been provided. If there are further questions to the Leader, I'm sure she'll be happy to take them within the confines of the supplementary business motion, but if not, I suggest to the House that we proceed to subsequent motions, namely, if memory serves me correctly, motion number 3 on energy conservation, the whip to move.
I beg to move.
Oh, well, I'm sure the House wants to hear about the energy conservation motion. The question is as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. No. The division is deferred until tomorrow. Motion number 4 on exiting the European Union, brackets nuclear safeguards, close brackets, the whip to move, thank you. The question is as on the order paper in respect of motion 4. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Motion number 5 entitled Rating and Valuation.
I beg to move.
The question is as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Motion number 6, colleagues, on UK participation in the EU Agency for Criminal Justice Cooperation, brackets Eurojust, close brackets, post-adoption opt-in decision. The whip to move. Thank you. The question is as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. Aye. Oh, the division is deferred until tomorrow. Thank you, colleagues. We come now to the adjournment. The whip to move.
I beg to move this House to now adjourn.
Thank you. The question is that this House do now adjourn. Mr. Kevin Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this historic night, I'm sorry that members are leaving, would not be listening to the problems that my constituency are facing at Chester Street railway station. But I'm pleased, Mr. Speaker, that I've secured this debate to highlight the problems my constituents in Chester Street and the surrounding areas who use the station are having. Tonight we've been consumed by the debate on Brexit, but it is, I think, Mr. Speaker, worth reminding ourselves that other issues are important to our constituents, and despite our very serious deliberations today, our constituents, many are just getting on with their lives. Now, Mr. Speaker, Chester Street Railway Station serves not only the town of Chester Street, but the surrounding villages and communities of North Durham. My constituency, as people may well know, borders the Tyneside conurbation. Now, over the years, traditional industries in Chester Street and large parts of my North Durham constituency have moved and closed, and the area now has become a commuter town for both North Tyneside, north of the Tyne, and also parts of Durham and Teesside. So therefore, Mr. Speaker,